After the success that was Sukeban Deka II, plans for what the next step for the Sukeban Deka live-action series would go next. Quickly, an experimental idea would first draft as a spin-off series called Sukeban Deka Nihojo, or Sukeban Deka Ninja Scroll, which was loosely based on the concepts and ideas of Star Wars Shinji Wada's Ninja Hisho. The idea of making this concept the third season to the live-action Sukeban Deka series instead of a spin-off was eventually made, though without Shinji Wada's full approval. The three main leads for the show would consist of the actresses Yui Asaka, Yuma Nakamura, and Yuka Onishi. Sukeban Deka III's premise would center around the Shadow Star, which returns to the night sky after being absent for 180 years, and prompts the ninja clan, the Kage, to reign chaos around the world, as the Shadow Star is a sign for things yet to come. The three Kazama sisters of the Fuma clan, Yui, Yuma, and Yuka, are brought together to help put a stop to this. Yuka Kazama, the eldest sister of the three, is the calm and rational sister, tending to be more careful, precise, and proper with things in her daily life and in battle. Yuka is known for her signature stainless steel origami crane. This origami crane can be thrown at enemies and it will return to her like a boomerang, but in a pinch can be used as an incredibly short but sharp melee weapon. When Yuka is without it, she knows how to fight using Hakusuru-ken, which in the show's context is a martial art that has Yuka spreading her arms out, much like a crane. Hakusuru-ken is an early Shin Dynasty fighting technique created by Fang Xingyang, which was a combination of Kenpo and observed crane movements. The fighting technique is one of the origins of karate's foundations for its movements. The middle child of the Kazama sisters, Yuma Kazama, uses a gold knitting needle and thread from the company Clover MFG, which was a company that manufactured and sold handicraft supplies. When fighting the Kage, Yuma tends to use her knitting needle and thread to create webs of threads to trap and restrain enemies. And then we get to the Sukeban Deka, Yui Kazama, the most famous Sukeban in all of Kyushu. Yui, unlike the previous Sukeban Deka heroines, is quite peppy, pure, and optimistic. She's not only different in that regard though. She also sports her own signature red battle handguards, battle headband, and chainmail. Yui would be sent to meet up with Yuma and Yuka and inherit the Saki Asamiya name in an effort to fight the Kage. Serving as their mentor figure and agent of the Dark Director is a character known as Hanya, based on the mask that he wears. He's an accomplished ninja with decades of experience. He would be the one to give missions to the trio, as well as give them guidance and tips on how to improve themselves in the ninja arts. The ninja arts being what will keep them alive throughout their adventures and their battles against the Kage. While in the past, supernatural and unexplained powers were lightly sprinkled in episodes, but in Sukeban Deka III, supernatural occurrences were normal, and make the unexpectedness expected. The flexibility of fictional ninja arts and techniques made the battles more interesting and diverse, since it allowed the writers' imaginations to run wild for the show, hoping to continue on that high that was the Sukeban Deka II finale. The show would reach its series' first above 20% viewership rating with its first and 9th episodes, 20.8% and 21.3% respectively. For perspective, the first season Sukeban Deka's highest rating was the 13th episode rating, 17%, and for Sukeban Deka II, it was the finale, at 19.1%. The rating average for each episode for the first season was 13.04%, and with Sukeban Deka II, it was 14.3%. With that in mind, it's clear that Sukeban Deka III had something special going on. Yuka Onishi was born on July 6, 1968, in Toyonaka, Osaka. Onishi always had a dream of becoming an idol and entering the entertainment industry, inspired by Seiko Matsuda. Following through with that dream, she was scouted by a talent agency after moving to Tokyo after graduating from junior high school. In 1984, Onishi would make her acting debut in the TV drama Kazuko no Bansan, and then after, she would make her debut as an idol in February 1985 with the single Arabesque Romanetsuku, winning the Newcomer Encouragement Award at the Yokohama Music Festival from it. In her dramas, she would be known for her roles for the many characters that are very mature for her age. We would come to know her in the same role as Yuka Kazama in her breakthrough role in Sukeban Deka III. She would have an insert song for the show called Shadow Hunter, which was her 5th song and her first song to appear on the Oricon charts. After Sukeban Deka III, she would hone on her idol career, where she would push for a more rock angle. In the 90s, she would return to acting, where she would choose to have her first nude appearance in the 1990 film Sleeping Beauty, and have a nude photo collection called Flower. As willing as she was to continue her career, she couldn't. In September 1998, the agency she worked for, Macaroon, would soon go bankrupt due to the president of the company disappearing and leaving behind a debt to the company. A year later, Onishi would publish a book where she would talk about her perspective, recollecting her time at the company and her reaction to the bankruptcy. Oddly enough, at the same time, she would publish her second nude book, Tono Fuyu. In June 2000, she would make her debut as a dirt trial racer for the Japan Dirt Trial Championships that had races all over the country, and she even appeared as a guest commentator for several driving shows. In September 2012, Onishi would finally marry a man 17 years her junior. For perspective, Onishi at the time was 44 years old and her husband was 27 at the time. Yuma Nakamura was born on February 16, 1970 in Chiyoda Ward, Tokyo. She got her start in the entertainment industry when she won the grand prize of an audition held by Weekly Shonen Jump in 1986. Taking this opportunity seriously, she transferred to a night school in Yoyogi High School in Tokyo, where many celebrities would enroll to better acclimate their work life, acting, and study. In 1987, 1 year after becoming an actress, she would get her role in Sukeban Deka III, where she would also have her debut song with the insert song Dilemma. After Sukeban Deka III, she would also do the opening and ending songs for the anime Oshinbo. Nakamura would have the talent and determination to create songs written and composed by herself, and due to the experience of doing so, met a drummer, Koyo Maeda, who is a rock band member of Otokogumi. Him and Nakamura would create a band called Goddess, where they would hold live shows together over the country from 2000 to 2003, only stopping when they would have a divorce with each other, which would ultimately break up the band Goddess, but not before releasing Festival, which would be their second album. In 2005, Nakamura would move to Los Angeles to study and only ever returning to Japan for work-related activity. Only a year later, she would marry an American lawyer 16 years older than her after 4 months of dating and then eventually giving birth to her first child, their daughter named Marin. In 2009, she would give birth to her second child, Miyu. Nakamura outside of the shows was surprisingly as straightforward and blunt as she is in Sukeban Deka III. She's gone on record in magazine interviews saying, "If fat or disgusting people ask me for an autograph on the street, I will completely ignore them." Surprisingly, the stance at the time gained a lot of support due to its relatability and bravery to say this. The probable praise comes from rejecting people who are indecent, smelly, and do not put the care into their hygiene and expect not to bother others while presenting themselves in that way. There was a report of a positive outcome from this. A fan letter to Nakamura during a radio show stated that, "I was bullied at school for being fat and disgusting. But as a result of a diet and other efforts to gain your approval, Yuma, you actually shook my hand, gave me an autograph, and I was able to overcome the bullying I once had. Thank you, Yuma-san." This made Nakamura proud of their achievements, and she burst into tears after reading that. Miho Hayashi, born on January 19, 1977 in Kita, Kyushu, was a child actress who didn't have much information about her online. As we know, she plays a key character in Sukeban Deka III, but also played a key role in the Taxi Driver Mystery Diary series for 24 years, from 1992 to 2016. Satomi Fukunaga was born on January 26, 1967 in Tokyo, Japan, and was among the original 11 members of the Onyanko Club. In February 1985, she appeared in a popular late-night show contest called All Night Fuji High School Girl Special, wherein she along with many other girls would get scouted by the many program's officials to become a member of the soon-to-be Onyanko Club for a new TV program, Yuyake Nyanyan. She actually had a job offer at a major computer-related company, but turned it down in favor of becoming an Onyanko Club member. She would become one of the lead singers for Onyanko Club's debut song, Don't Make Me Take Off My Sailor Suit, which would release in July 1985. Fukunaga had always wanted to become an actress when she was little, and taking advantage of the spotlight given to her thanks to Onyanko Club, she became more deeply involved with not only Onyanko Club songs, but also idol dramas. She would make her solo debut in May 1986 with Kaze no Invitation, which would reach the #1 spot in the Oricon chart upon release. She was apparently inspired and a fan of Maria Takeuchi and Henri's music at the time, so perhaps that served as a motivation to her idol life. Though in September of 1986, she, along with some popular members of Onyanko Club, such as Akira Yoshizawa, would graduate from Onyanko Club. Though her dreams of being an actress wouldn't be left behind, she would of course become Rhea in Sukeban Deka III. Funnily enough, this wouldn't be the first time Fukunaga would make an appearance in the Sukeban Deka season. She was of course in the Onyaku Club episodes in Sukeban Deka II. Rhea was chosen as her character name as it was a reference to Princess Leia from Star Wars. Fukunaga didn't only just play Rhea in the show, she actually had her song Hearto no Ignition as one of the ending themes. Even after leaving Onyaku Club and after Sukeban Deka III, she would still release 2 more other songs, Bokutachi no Runaway and Kokoro mo Jumpshite Natsu no Intro. Notably, Kokoro mo Jumpshite was actually the theme song for Project Ako 2. Fukunaga would eventually retire from the entertainment industry in November 1988 and became an office worker and settled down and got married in 1994. Fukunaga nowadays is a director of an entertainment agency office, Nishin, so in a way she has returned to the entertainment industry. Mitsuya Wada, or better known as Nagare Hagewada, was born on April 8, 1953 in Setagaya, Tokyo. He was an actor, TV personality, and dancer. He would make his film debut in 1986 with Katama March. His wife was the stage actress Mayumi Hagewada. Aside from that and his time on Sukeban Deka III, he was mostly known to appear on many TV variety shows, and in December 2008, he would open Hagewada Ruko Actor Studio to be able to teach what he had learned throughout his many years in the entertainment industry. On April 22, 2015, at around 6 p.m., Hagewada was found lying next to his motorcycle on Omekaido Road. While he was taken to the hospital, he was sadly confirmed dead only an hour and a half later, dying at the age of 62. The police pieced together what was the likely story. Hagewada was riding his motorcycle in the center lane of the 3-lane road when he was hit by a police suspect escort vehicle changing lanes into him from behind. And upon collision, Hagewada was said to have been crushed by the vehicle chest first. The obvious culprit would be the driver at the time, a driver of the Takaido Police of the Tokyo Metropolitan Police Department. Though as it was raining quite hard at the time, the driver said he hadn't noticed if he was the cause or not. On May 22, 2015, Hagewada's wife held a press conference where she told attendees that she did not believe anything the police had said to her, since not only did the police not give her all the information on the case, but also due to conflicting evidence she noticed herself. The police had said the vehicle involving Hagewada's death was a minivan, but also claimed that Hagewada's death was due to an arterial rupture where the artery of the heart burst. This is compounded with the fact that there happened to be a witness to the scene who had seen the police go to Hagewada directly after it, meaning that the driver must have known what they had done. Fuji TV would broadcast this conference, but was ultimately cut short due to quote-unquote violations of the Bar Association. A second press conference would be held on July 2nd, where Mayumi Hagewada would return to point out the inconsistencies in the Takaido police station's video on the incident, as well as rejecting their apology to her, citing the police officer's behavior during the on-site investigation. The police at the time came out saying that Hagewada had a record of accidents, as well as a correlation to those said accidents to depression. Hagewada's depression was sadly real, and was said to have lasted 20 years, though it's hard to say whether or not this depression actually caused vehicular accidents, as his journey of overcoming depression had taught him so much about life and people. It was clear that Hagewada did his best not to let his depression overwhelm him, especially since his wife also developed depression, as Hagewada had said this in a 2-hour TV broadcast once about his depression and spreading awareness of it. People get hurt even by casual words. I understood people's pains because I was once hurt too. Not everything is bad when you're depressed. Let's live cheerfully without worry. All we need is one person to listen to us. Mayumi Hagewada said this: "My first priority is to restore Nagare Hagewada's reputation, damaged by false reports by the police saying that he was frequently involved with accidents, that his depression was the cause." August 14, 2015, it was found through an autopsy report Hagewada suffered a severe chest trauma, which included a ruptured left atrium and multiple rib fractures, adding to the chest trauma angle. In September 10, 2015, it was found that the driver of the escort vehicle, who was a male police inspector for the Takaido police station, was put on suspicion of negligent driving resulting in death or injury by the prosecutors of the case. August 16, 2016, the driver would be indicted as there was not enough evidence to concretely conclude the driver was responsible, but the jury ruled him as guilty, and the Tokyo Summary Court imposed a 700,000 yen fine on August 23, 2016. On March 19, 2019, nearly 4 years after the incident, the police issued an apology and a settlement between them and Hagewada's family with additional compensation made. Hagewada famously started keeping cats around when he was 32, and often talked about his 3 cats he had back at home, whenever given the opportunity, which would result in him frequently appearing in cat magazines in Japan. Hagiwara loved them so much that he would never refer to them as pets. Rather, treated them like children. His doctor warned him that he wasn't expected to have a long life and he should be thinking about his cats should he pass. Despite this, Hagiwara would stay devoted about his cats, especially when he was ever sick. Hagiwara had said this: "We don't have any children at home, so a child who relies on me and needs my protection gives me the encouragement to live." According to his will, Hagiwara wanted his children's remains to be scattered with him, or his wife, should they die before him. "I want us to be roommates until the very end of our lives." When Hagiwara passed, he spent a wonderful 17 years with his cats. This is speculation on my part. I think there's a correlation between Hagiwara overcoming his depression and his cats. With Hagiwara's depression lasting about 20 years, with him and his wife having cats for nearly 17 years, and the words that Hagiwara said, it's pretty easy to make the assumption that Hagiwara and his wife were both saved by their cats. Keeping to his will, on June 1st, 2019, Hagiwara's remains were scattered into the sea off in Shonan, Kanagawa Prefecture. Yui Asaka, the shining star of Sukeban Deka III, ended up being the most accomplished out of the Sukeban Deka III trio. In January 1987, Yui Asaka would release the single Star, which was used in Sukeban Deka III as one of the theme songs, and thanks to its use in Sukeban Deka III, it became an instant hit. Depicted in the lyrics of Star, the singer has some bad experiences and can notice the light from her life fading away. Discouraged by this, she can't help but run with the feeling of anguish. But while running, she looks up into the sky and spots a shooting star, and quickly that anguish becomes hope, running as fast as she can in that star's trail, determined to not lose sight of it. In that moment, she realized that when the sun sets in her life, she knows she can rely on a shooting star to set her back on the right path. Star would rank 10th on the Oricon weekly chart on its release, and in the following May, the single Hitomi ni Storm would release and reach number 4 on the Oricon charts. Notably, Asaka's fandom had grown to the point where 5,000 fans gathered on the rooftop of the Tokyo department store Nihonbashi in honor of Hitomi ni Storm's release. In February 1987, the Sukeban Deka III movie would air, and Asaka's 9th single, Believe Again, would be used as the theme song for the movie, reaching number 2 on the Oricon chart at the time. And I'll save the details for that in another video. In September 1987, Niji no Dreamer would be Asaka's first number 1 Oricon song, and she would perform this song in her first concert tour called Over the Rainbow. While later in October of that same year, the Kazama sisters would release the single Remember, which would be a very easy number 1 Oricon chart single. In 1988, she was chosen as the campaign girl for Kanabo Cosmetics magazine and was the swimsuit model for the now defunct cosmetic company called Queens of CF. This was especially unusual for an idol at the time, as they were typically modestly dressed. Asaka would release a single called Sea Girl in April 20th, 1988, which was a huge hit, ranking number 1 on the Oricon charts for 2 consecutive weeks and separately for a 3rd week later. On June 1st, 1988, she would release the studio album Candid Girl. Following Candid Girl, she would release Cecile, another single in August, which unsurprisingly reached number 1 on the Oricon charts. On Cecile's release, Asaka would appear in many music shows, dramas, variety TV shows, movies, radio broadcasts, and much more, even replacing Yuki Saito as the image character for Fuji Photo Films' Axia, and she would appear as an image character for many other companies such as Snowbrand Milk, Kanabo Cosmetics, Suzuki Motors, OKI Electric, and Casio Computers in their commercials. She, along Miho Nakayama, Shizuka Kudo, and Yoko Minamino, were known as the 4 Heavenly Idols, as they were the biggest idols in Japan at the time, Asaka especially, as she was said to be the most busy idol of all of Japan. As an example of how busy she was, in the summer of 1989, a concert tour, Yui Asaka's Summer Tour 89 Rock and Roll Circus, that was composed of 48 performances in 24 different locations in Japan. On the first day of the tour, July 29th, 1989, at the Tokyo Hosainenkin Kaikan, after the first 6 songs of the day, Asaka collapsed from a high fever from a cold and had to promptly stop the concert. Before the show, she was actually hooked up to an IV drip, and a doctor was readily waiting on standby for anything that would happen in the dressing room. While the July 29th concert was cut short, the tour went on as planned the following day without any interruption. In September 1989, it was revealed in weekly magazine pictures, Asaka, along with a drummer who was in the band of her concerts, Takahiro Nishikawa, were seen together as if they were a couple. Her agency panicked and scrambled together a press conference to explain the situation to keep it from blowing over needlessly, though very quickly, Asaka declared publicly that she and Nishikawa were in fact dating. In a magazine interview, Asaka said, "I think it's normal that a soon-to-be 20-year-old girl would have a story or two like that. There's a point in 1989 in Japan where consumption tax was mandated, so Daimaru Tokyo store held an event called Indirect Taxes in Everyday Life. Many attendees who did go were all bureaucrats and other related professions from the Ministry of Finance. But at some point, Asaka appeared and quickly the venue became an Asaka Yui autograph session after the ribbon cutting, completely overshadowing the event." In January 1990, Asaka would start focusing on her music career and stop acting. She wanted to do rock music, but her fans were disappointed at this new direction, saying that if she were to do this, she would be leaving her idol background behind. While there was some truth to this, Asaka promised everyone that she wouldn't change her image anytime soon, and this new direction would just simply be the most natural way of expressing herself. Her concerts then expanded to now feature more albums rather than her biggest singles. And while doing so, she expanded her creative control to the songs themselves. For example, releasing the song Self-Control in October 1990, wherein Asaka wrote the song lyrics herself. She was so serious about her music career, she even turned down a lead role for Fuji TV's Kimochi Ii Koi Shitai, and focusing on producing albums and music activities at live houses. Most notably, in August 1992, Asaka's 13th album, Joker, was released, with Joker being Asaka's dream album, having an entire album composed solely by female composers. Then, in February 1993, her 8-year-long contract with the Roppongi office and Maiso Hummingbird, her record company, expired, and she left the company without renewing her contract, and after one last performance at Club Shita in Kawasaki City on March 14, 1993, she would go on an indefinite break, but assured fans that she was not retiring, stating to her fan club newsletter that, "I want to look at myself and broaden my musical horizons." Later, Asaka would reveal that her hiatus was a combination of failing to meet her own high expectations, burnout, and concern with her own self-expression. The most important thing to me was how I felt. I had been doing this for so long, I was at a point where I thought I couldn't keep up with myself. I felt my body was about to break down. No matter what I did, I couldn't express 100% of myself, and I couldn't look at myself objectively. I felt like I was on the edge. I could have taken a break while registered at the office, but I knew if I took a break half-heartedly, I would never be able to reset myself. So I thought about taking a break with a clean slate. Going on this break, she would lose her stage name Yui Asaka until her inevitable return, going by Aki Kawasaki, her real name for now. On January 25, 1994, 1 year after her announced hiatus, Kawasaki would publish a photo book called Fake Love under her real name, during the time when photo books containing fully nude pictures of models was trending. It was quite the controversy at the time, especially due to Nobuyoshi Araki, who was infamous for taking risque pictures. Rumors escalated from Kawasaki making her grand return with fully nude pictures to another rumor where Araki was showing up to the photo shoot with a rope. This was all speculation, and not a single nude photo was included in Fake Love. But thanks to those rumors, the first printing of the photo book sold out at 30,000 copies. In February 1996, Kawasaki would return to the limelight as a cover model for magazines, and the next year she would make her comeback as a singer, 4 years after her initial hiatus from music. Asaka had this to say when she returned. "I wanted to take a break from working so much. I was tired of, everything. So I decided to try living a normal life. I thought maybe I could find something I wanted to do. But then I thought the entertainment business was for me. So I decided to make that comeback announcement. I wanted to have fun, but since Asaka Yui was an idol, I didn't want to break that dream and sing for my fans, out of obligation. I broke out of that shell, or rather, I realized that there was more to it than that. During those 4.5 years, I started to think I wanted to entertain everyone as a person, not as the idol, Asaka Yui. I realized I wanted to be someone who could do something that would relax someone's heart, make someone smile, make someone happy, or something like that. My way of thinking has completely changed over the past 4.5 years. She would do just that, creating more singles, albums, concerts, and arrangements, and even getting back with her former agency to get her stage name Yui Asaka back. And she would resume her career as an actress to begin appearing in dramas and variety shows. Asaka and Nishikawa would finally get together on July 21st, 2002 as a married couple after 14 years of being together, and on September 12, 2007, she would give birth to her daughter, Himari. Shinji Wada, the author and mangaka of the original Sukeban Deka manga series, infamously disagreed with Sukeban Deka III's direction. Shinji Wada voiced his opinions as, "The beauty of Sukeban Deka is that a normal schoolgirl defeats a strong villain. If you want a superhero story, go elsewhere. Why would it be a heroine that fights only for herself? You don't understand what the Sukeban Deka were created for." Wada had criticisms of Sukeban Deka III's reliance on special effects rather than focusing on the school drama aspect. The series up to this point has always been about this David versus Goliath dynamic of having the hero fight someone they can't possibly win against, but does so anyways. Perhaps Wada felt that adding the supernatural element to the fights made that dynamic blurry, making it harder to tell when everyone has these unrelatable supernatural abilities. Wada would then end his support during the time Sukeban Deka III aired, with the planned Sukeban Deka IV needing to take an entirely new form in order to be made. Sukeban Deka III was originally supposed to air for only 6 months, but due to favorable ratings from the first 9 to 12 episodes, the show was extended to air for a year. While the early parts of Sukeban Deka III had high viewership ratings, specifically among the first 21 episodes of the show, the viewer ratings tended to become inconsistent afterwards, losing the momentum the show once had. After the first 21 episodes, Sukeban Deka III would see a drop to an 8 to 9% viewer rating on average, when the first half of the show would rarely dip below 14%. Sukeban Deka III having a supernatural feel when the previous shows mostly relied on relatively grounded reality was quite an interesting choice. They needed a new delinquent girl show that was unique while keeping the essence of what made these types of shows special in the first place. In the end, Sukeban Deka III ended up being radically different from the rest of the Sukeban Dekas prior, for better or for worse. The previous seasons of Sukeban Deka had their character dynamics. There's the main protagonist, their agent and mentor figure, and a character or two that deeply care for them, and the relationship between the main protagonist and the dark organization they work for. Sukeban Deka III added a new dynamic, which would bring the relationship between an elder, middle, and youngest sibling. Not only that, but the fact that the Kazama sisters share the spotlight more, unlike the Sukebans prior, would allow for the Kazama sisters to properly interact and bounce off of each other in a way that fleshes out their character more personally and intimately. This would make for those little moments in the show of compassion and bickering matter more, as there's more reason to be invested in the Kazama sisters as they're always present in the show. This would result in each of the girls having their own place in the show with their own personalities, and to playfully create a divide between the three characters, which allows for the viewers to have a favorite sister due to their personality rather than their importance to the show. While Yui inherits the Sukeban Deka name, which is significantly more important due to the show's namesake, but each of the Kazama sisters were first and foremost an equally divided trio. As such, they had to be different from one another in a way that kept the show interesting. Yuka Onishi in 2004 said in an interview recounting the character dynamics had this to say: "Yui runs without thinking, Yuma runs while thinking, and Yuka runs after thinking. There isn't one good way to think in every situation, and each of the girls have good reason to act the way they do. And these behaviors aren't just the way they act in battle either, but it also bleeds into their daily life. It's the Kazama sisters' different way of thinking and their approaches to even the most simplest of tasks which makes them so interesting." What made Sukeban Deka III's identity is the push to be different from its predecessors while trying to bring along its most important overarching themes with it. Sukeban Deka III has a different take on the personal conflicts of the Saki Asamiya's prior, but for that very same difference, Sukeban Deka III has found a new niche audience. Each Sukeban Deka story has a theme about fighting for family. Each of the Sukeban Deka seasons at heart start off as a mystery detective show with different happenings, but the hardest mysteries always end up being the ones that involve the protagonist in a very personal manner. From the painful hazy memory of a burning house to a suffocating iron mask, and now a single star out of the countless stars in the sky, has changed a certain girl's life. If there's something that could be taken away from Sukeban Deka III specifically, it's that oftentimes, to hesitate is to admit defeat. It's Yui who continues in the footsteps of both Saki Asamiya before her, but doing so before she is asked to step forward. This is because Yui's the type to run into battle without thinking first. But it's this confidence, this first step, that can only be seen as natural to Yui as it was to breathe, knowing that she'll come out stronger than before. Most people, when they see a shooting star, they'll make a wish, staring at where the shooting star once was. Yui, without hesitation, runs after it, not to let it out of her sight, and letting it guide her until she's free of the problems in her life. The determination she has to do the impossible task of not letting the shooting star fade away into the night is what makes her a true successor to the Saki Asamiya name. Not only to step forward when nobody will, but to sprint forward, to let her good intentions and persistence be rewarded. Whether it's a fight against crime, the pursuit of answers for intertwining and personal mysteries, she'll do it without having changed out of her school uniform, since the time to step forward is now. This uniquely powerful burning passion of the Sukeban Deka was passed on to her. To hold such a legendary name in itself is like trying to catch lightning in a bottle, or perhaps in this case, a yo-yo. For Yui, that won't even so much as distract her, as she has her eyes set on that shooting star in the sky until her dreams come true. Saki forever. I can't let the video end without thanking Geo9875 for doing the non-Japanese speaking world a favor by subtitling the entire Sukeban Deka III series. That's 42 episodes and a special episode that is nearly 19 hours of content to not only watch through, but to also understand, translate, and subtitle with the right amount of words that fit the scene along with its proper timing. This 37-year-old show would have likely reached its 40th anniversary without English subtitles if it wasn't for Geo9875. I'll speak for everyone who loves Sukeban shows. Thank you so much for allowing Sukeban Deka III to reach a new audience, and thank you so much for also subtitling many shows that are not as well known. Your work will not go unappreciated.